Hi folks, this is Professor Nebulous coming your way again. I'm afraid some people think that what is happening in Niger right now is a child's play, but it's not. It's not a child's play. Small skirmishes like this can metamorphose to great conflagration. It started like this during the First World War. What were the immediate causes of the First World War? Secret alliances of nations, militarism, gathering of weapons, deployment of weapons, imperialism and neocolonialism, then nationalism. Before you knew it, the world was plunged into an unprecedented cataclysm. The rest is history. Millions of people died. What about Second World War? Second World War, how did it start? The implacability of great powers, covetousness of great powers, the show of strength, show of power unnecessarily by the great powers, oppression, deprivation of the lesser power. All this led to the Second World War. And before you knew what was happening, the Second World War was here with us. And so many people perished in that war again. Is the Third World War starting in Africa? God forbid, you said. God forbid. Africa does not need war now. We do not need war at all. What Africa needs now is understanding. Soft power diplomacy, not hard power. It's not all the time the policy of pugilism we help. We don't need that. We need soft power, understanding why the people are disgruntled, understanding why the people are frustrated, understanding the hunger of the people, understanding the reason why people are so poor in the midst of plenty, that the natural resources that have developed other countries are in their backyard and yet they are poor, almost the poorest in the world. Understanding them, understanding their fury because the leaders who are supposed to bail them out have all compromised. It is this understanding they need, not declaring war on them. And for Nigeria, the president who is being goaded into fighting war, why not ask yourself, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do my people want war? Is war number one thing now for Nigeria? Do we need war? Can Nigeria stand the consequences of war? If the neighboring countries are scattered everywhere, already scattered, naturally they come to Nigeria. Where do you want the people of Nigeria to run to? Which country will play host to Nigeria? Which country is ready to take Nigerian refugees? Don't you think about all these things? If you don't understand diplomacy, why not ask those who understand the art of diplomacy? War is war, no matter how small. Because in every war, three things stand out. In every war, you lose human beings. Many are killed, including collateral damage, those who don't know anything, the innocent people, the aged, the children, the sick. They will all be wiped out. Are you ready for that? Number two, you lose money. The money Nigeria complains of, people are dying, people are perishing for lack of money, no food, nothing. They are expecting the proceeds of fuel subsidy. Is it the same money you want to use to prosecute war now? Because when we talk about ECOWAS, we're virtually talking about Nigeria anyway, because Nigeria contributes the lion's share. Is it the same money you want to use to prosecute war? Can Nigeria afford this? Then number three, you lose time. the precious time we would have used to develop our economy in other sectors. You want to use it to prosecute war? These are the three things Nigeria can ill afford now. Do not plunge Nigeria into this war. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, your people don't need it. They don't need it at all. We have enough on our hand. The Boko Haram are still ravaging the people. The insecurity in the southeast is there. Bandit is there. Kidnapping is there. Hunger is another insecurity that is killing people. You want to add full-scale war into the mix? Nigeria can ill afford this. Tell whoever is goading you on. Tell whoever is, is pushing you to do this. Tell them that your people don't want war. Nigeria cannot afford war now. Africa cannot afford war. Please, we are begging you, do not plunge the country into war. The great wars of this that have been fought in this planet, they started like this. They started like this. The manufacturers of guns and ammunition, they are looking for where to test these things. Don't let it be Africa that there will be a theater of where they will exhibit all these things to the detriment of millions of souls. Tell whoever that Africa does not want war. The hunger in the land, the insecurity in the land is enough. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, your people are saying no more war. It is understanding the people need. Sharing of their common patrimony. Because what are the casus belli? What are the things that are causing wars? What are all these? Because the wealth of the nation is not trickling down to the people. They bear the brunt of all unpopular policies. They are hungry and dying in the midst of plenty. You can't beat a child and forbid him from crying. When you push ordinary sheep, you push it to the wall. If you turn back and bite, the people have been pushed to the precipice. Can't you understand this? A word is enough for the wise. These are the casus belli that are causing war. This man has explicitly explained it. Listen to it. And please share this video. Subscribe to it. It is often said that people are dying because of lack of knowledge. Don't let the lack of knowledge of what is happening in Africa kill anybody. So share this program. Let everybody know what is happening so that they will know how to prepare. Yeah, a war that is foretold does not kill an invalid. And that is an invalid that is wise. This is Professor Nemblos. Until I come your way again, don't forget to share. I come in peace as usual. Thank you.
Much of tonight will concentrate on France, on the disastrous turn of events in Francophone Africa, where country after country is literally kicking France out the door. After centuries of exploitation, of humiliation, of ongoing economic subjugation, even when the tricolor was run down the flagpole and the flags of nominally independent countries was run up, France continued to dominate everything meaningful in the lives of their former colonies in West Africa. The language remained French. The currency remained the French currency, in this case, nowadays, the franc. The bank guarantees, the gold deposits are all in the vaults in Paris. Countries like Niger where a military uprising, backed, it seems, by millions of the population of that country, has overthrown a French puppet government, as has happened in neighboring country after country over this last period. France has counted on its soft power and the corruption of the political class in its former colonies to keep it in the peacock position. But these days are rapidly coming to an end, and France is now openly threatening military action to overturn the usurpers who overthrew and now hold as a prisoner in the presidential palace the former puppet ruler of Niger. As I said on Sunday, Niger is a much more important country than most people have given it credit for. In fact, many people, including people who definitely should know better, continue to confuse Niger and Nigeria. The spelling of Nigerian is not the same as the spelling of a Nigerian. Get it right, Mr. Pundit, if you're going to pontificate on very important, significant events that are unfolding. And they are these: that 80% of every light that's burning in France this evening is powered by the uranium sent to France at measly prices by the poor people of Niger, whose uranium it originally was, who dug it, who processed it, and who sent it to France at a fraction of the price that it was worth, and that price paid in French currency for that matter. 80% of all the lights in France are powered by Niger, but only 20% of the people of Niger have any electricity at all. Just ponder that. But the worm is turning in Africa, you see. The new generation of military officers, like that incredible, fine 35-year-old leader of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré. You saw him in Moscow. You saw his arrival back in Ouagadougou to a crowd of scores of thousands of jubilant people. Young officers are no longer prepared to tolerate the mass impoverishment of their own citizens for the enrichment of a tiny ruling elite and its small comprador to the ultimate benefit of the former colonial power in France. So if France has recourse to military action to overturn the outcome of the uprising in Niger, they may be biting off far more than they can chew. For they will not only be fighting the armed forces of Niger, they'll be fighting not only some of their neighboring countries who have declared that any attack on Niger will be an attack on them, and that they will send their armed forces to fight France and anyone who joins France in a military aggression against Niger. But the most important of all the new factors is that the chief of staff of the Algerian army, Niger's northern neighbor, the chief of staff flew at a moment's notice to Moscow yesterday and spent the day with the Russian Minister of Defense and the chiefs of the armed forces of Russia. Algeria has a long, long friendship with Russia, going back to the days when the French were murdering Algerians in Algeria and in Paris, when the Algerian people were forced to give up the lives of more than 1 million of their people to achieve their independence from a French colonial situation in which France pretended that Algeria was literally, actually, a part of France, even though it was in Africa? Who supported the FLN? Who supported the heroes of the Algerian Revolution? Who armed them? Who funded them? Who proselytized for them? Who propagandized for them? Yes, the same country that did the same for Mozambique, for Angola, for Zimbabwe, for Namibia, and of course, most importantly of all, for the Republic of South Africa. They wonder why Russia is popular in Africa, and France and Britain and Belgium and the other colonists are unpopular. How could it be otherwise? So Algeria's long defense treaty relationship with Russia is such that when Algeria says that it will not stand by if Niger is attacked by the colonial powers, you can be sure that they will do so with the full support of Russia. Russian arms, maybe Russian fighters. I understand that the Wagner group are currently out of work. With the whole panoply of Russian state power in its ironclad alliance with China, may soon be involved in a conflict in a tiny African country before last week many had never heard of and certainly could not place on a map. So World War III might not be triggered in the Persian Gulf, might not be triggered in the Straits of Taiwan, might not be triggered on the steppe in the Ukraine. It might, after all, be triggered in Africa, in West Africa, where the proxy ECOWAS, the armed forces of the West African states, controlled, organized, and funded by the United States and France, end up at war with their neighbors, backed by Russia. Another new flashpoint arising in the world.